hey, because I'm starting to do research and start looking into bigger topics and to be able to have a little bit of a to kind of build out this vision that I have as far as where I want the channel to go moving forward. So what I wanted to talk about, okay, so we got one dog and one cat in here. We'll have another dog or two and a cat in here. So yeah, apparently this is the hangout spot. But anyways, um, I'm working on something and it's gonna take some time to build it out. So I'm gonna be doing regular check-ins. I'm kind of getting a format that kind of allows me to have that allows me to do something, or at least have something to put out so that people, just so that I got something to put out. And while I'm working on a little bit bigger story. So um starting uh starting next week is when I'm going to put out my, or probably, actually no, I'll start putting them out on Sundays. What the video I put out, Sam, go away. The video I put out a couple days ago is something bigger. It's for something else that I'm working on. But anyways, let's talk about the topic at hand, which is what you guys are here for. And for those of you who want to see Sam real quick, say hi, Sam. Say hi, Sam. Yeah, there's a Sam. Huh? Yeah. Every time we start, what do you think of a cashless trend? Um, I'm telling you, James, that's actually a pretty good question. How do I put it? It's convenient until it's not. Because there's places that, like, no, you got to deal in cash. Like, you got to go to a dispensary, you have to deal in cash. And now you're in a cashless system. My bank's on the East Coast. I got to pay for ATM fees versus just being able to have my bank there. So, as far as how do I feel about it, um, I think that is the inevitable future. We're in the process of switching over to a digital currency right now. They are trying to renegotiate the debt in these stable coins. And so as stable coins, get more and more notoriety and more use because they're now backed by the Federal Reserve, it gives you it just kind of it's a way to be able to guarantee buyers of the debt. So when we did the Saudi oil deal in the 1970s, I think, part of the thing was is that they sold oil in dollars, and by selling oils in dollars, that meant anytime anybody wanted the oil, they had to come and they had to buy US bonds, which therefore financed our runaway deficits. And that's kind of how the whole system worked. Now that the petrodollar isn't there, what is the new system that the federal government is going to use to be able to continuously have buyers for its debt so that it can finance its runaway inflation? And that's where stablecoin and the digital coins are actually coming in. And that is going to be the wave of the future because we are having less and less buyers of American bonds. But with the stable coins being required to buy bonds as a way to as their validity. So when you go and buy a stable coin, dollar for dollar on the stable coin, well, what they do is they turn around and they go and buy a dollar bond. So therefore, it's backed in the system. There's a digital ledger there, and because of the way that the Congress has regulated it and put the Federal Reserve in control of the stable coin, because it's to go. That's the private section. You got a private money, and then you have public money. The public money is going to be the U.S. dollar digital coin. So that's one thing that I think that I see. It just the trends are there. It's all there. So debanking. I haven't had it happen to me. I've heard stories of it. I don't know much about it other than it's politically motivated. And these are the risks that we have to play right now. It's no longer about right and wrong. It's about political affiliation and the Me Too movement of the day. So I mean, it's whatever the trend is kind of what's going on there. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, because coming up in a few days, um, HUD Housing is going to do its point in time count, which is one night. It goes around to all of the different shelters. And you have homeless advocates that know where a lot of the homeless sleep. So they get to go through there and they get to count them, but it's never really considered an accurate count because those are what we call the visible homeless because they're sleeping on streets, they're in shelters, they live outside. Okay, that's the visible homeless. Well, the thing is you're not able to count the invisible homeless. These are what you would call functional homeless. These are people who maybe they don't make enough money to be able to afford rent, but they at least have a job. They're functioning. They're living. They may be living in their car in a van. They may be renting a garage from somebody. There's all different ways in which people end up in this what you would call functional homeless. The functional homeless are a much bigger population, but because there's no need for services when you're functioning, that means that you're still able to go out there, get work, and get back up on your feet, become integrated in a tax-paying member of society. And so, when your focus is that versus going and getting services, this is why the functional homeless generally don't get recognized. This is a problem that even I had is as I was going around and doing my thing, I very rarely checked in for services unless I needed a shower or something like that. Nothing like getting in and getting case management and getting into this, into that, into the other. Because when you're functioning, you don't really need those services. What you need is just to be able to find some work and get yourself back up on your feet. Because um, it used to be that in order to experience homelessness, you had to have some sort of personality defect. Actually, no, let's go back even further than that. Back in the day when homelessness really exploded, it exploded post Vietnam or during the Vietnam era because a lot of the soldiers came back and they were really messed up in the head. So, but anyways, so so generally it was thought that you either had to have a mental health issue or a drug addiction in order to be homeless because that's just the way it was back then. Well, times have changed, and as society has broken down, instead of just like a select few veterans, which is why we have so much funding for homeless veterans, is because they were the original eyesore when it come to homelessness and the way that we see it in the modern era. But as time has gone along, because we've come from broken homes and dysfunctional families, that those that are have trouble later on in life end up homeless because of either personality issues or whatever may be going on with them. Okay, but now it's getting to the point where because of AI making a run on the average jobs, a lot of companies, because there's a reason why it seems like we have all of these jobs, but then we sit there and we see like the youth, the youth housing insecurity issue. So under 24, there's a higher percentage of couch surfers and things like that. Um, but Anyways, guys, I'm paying attention to, but yeah, it looks like we got a lot of comments in here. But I think that what we're about to start experiencing now is because of, like I said, AI, and also with once America loses its dollar dominance, so they're saying within the next 5 years that the total percentage of currency out there in the global market of U.S. dollars will be under 50%, which therefore takes us as no longer being the world reserve currency. Come the beginning of this year, of 2026, BRICS is supposed to be launching CIPS. It's supposed to be the competitor to SWIFT. And so this is just another thing. And so this is causing an economic impact because inflation is going to get even worse, especially as the dollar loses its dominance, because all those dollars got to come home. And then that inflates us here locally. We were inflating the rest of the world. Now the rest of the world is sending it back home so that we can deal with our own inflation. And so now you're going to start seeing, you have an estimated, nobody knows the exact number, but there are people that say anywhere between 3 to 4 million people that are couch surfing, staying with parents, staying with friends, that are sleeping in their car, that are finding alternative means, that may be working or looking for a job and getting there, but that live a life of sobriety, live a life, that they can go and they can get a job. It's not like they're dealing with an addiction. And so you have this large segment versus the 776,000 that are the people that you see every day on a street corner. So the functional homeless is about 4 times the size of the current homeless population. But what's going to end up happening over time is, as the dollar loses its dominance, AI starts taking over jobs. But we also have another thing that's playing in, and this is where they're talking about the population implosion. We're having a couple 100,000 people a day that are completely leaving the workforce, with the smallest generation. The smallest generation, which are the Zoomers, trying to come in and replace them. So there's a big old void. So we need less workers, and we've just kind of got to let the boomers age out of the system so that therefore it balances out. So it looks like there's a lot of jobs, but the companies, in order to kind of hedge themselves, are trying to do early adoption of AI while still putting out there for work. But it doesn't mean that they're actually going to be actively hiring, which gives a false sense of security or a false sense of opportunity within within the employment market. And so as the people that are relying on mom, dad, friends, and just being able to have a job, as those things start to dwindle away, you will start to see the what you would consider the functional homeless or the working homeless. You would see those people start to come out on the streets because they were the first ones to fail. And you're already starting to see parts of this of the I guess we'll call them the invisible homeless, that are starting to expand, especially within the younger generation. So anyways, I wanted to make sure to cover that before we got into anything else. This episode is sponsored by my friend Stephanie at openairproperties.net. If you are looking for off-grid land, if you are looking for a blank slate and you would like to at least have a place to stay that's not going to cost you a lot, like I think I spent about 8 or 9 thousand on my land in Arizona. So she has properties in Arizona, Colorado, and Arkansas. It's all owner finance. You tell her that you heard it from me here at Friar Tuck, and she'll give you $50 off of your deposit. Quite frankly, this is the best investment you can make to hedge your bets against what could possibly be there. Because if you can pay it off in 3 to 4 years, by the time the whole system has finally come down crumbling, at least if you've held on long enough, you at least have a plot of land where you can go take a deep breath and go, ah. Because at least that's what Arizona is for me. Is right now I am in the working stage because I wanted to, I wanted to have more income than what I was doing. There's a lot of other stuff that I don't talk about, but it has allowed me to kind of get myself set straight, so that I can make sure that when it comes time, when the whole world comes down, I can go get my land. So go check out Stephanie, openairproperties.net. Tell her Friar Tuck sent you, and you'll get $50 off of your deposit. So let's go ahead and get into some of these questions because I see you guys had a lot to say. Okay. What's up, Davo? Okay. Do you speak? No, I do not speak French. I don't know what's wrong with my forehead. When did you become a Muslim? I'm not a Muslim. um, Johann, okay. His ancestors, my guy. What the fuck is wrong with you? I love this. You guys are fun. Hey, if you're gonna troll, you should at least be entertaining. Okay. Uh, okay. So it looks like we got one person. Okay. The structure is built for the cold. Okay. Could you hit the Um, haven't you seen Game of Thrones? No, I don't watch stuff like that. You look like a Han from Stray Kids. Okay, don't know who that is. Uh, okay, you. Okay, so these guys put you. I'm gonna, because you're trolls. at least. Uh, and you stop. You gotta get okay. All right. So let's see. Hey, what's up, DFA? It's nice to see you, buddy. Economy will correct itself. Can't have an economy without a consumer. Yes, Swiss Tanaki. What that actually means um, is that we're going to see UBI come in as like Elon Musk, and I think even Microsoft is trying to do this. There's also a guy in Japan trying to do this. China is trying to do this. You can build a robot for 15,000. You can buy a robot for $15,000. That's that's less than you pay somebody working part-time at McDonald's with today's wages. And they can work 24/7 and all it needs is parts and repair. And if you got one human being that you're paying a wage to, but getting free labor from all of this, other than the maintenance and the power that it takes, um, they're gonna be we're gonna be forced into a UBI type situation just so that the companies don't implode. Because you're 100% correct, Swiss. That's the part that they're not thinking about. And then what happens? Like, do we go from do we still stay in a debt-based society when that happens, or do we change the way that our money is completely structured? I mean, because right now we're going back to sound money under the BRICS monetary system. But is there enough sound money to be able to do all this, especially with the industrial needs? So those are a little bit of other questions that we should be thinking. Okay, so will be worse. Blessings to all that new year brings good news. And okay, yes, it will. What's up, TJ? Bro, you're related to Triple H. Okay, we got our Triple H comment. All right, Doofy. No, no, I'm just okay. Are you biologically male? Um, okay. I don't think that the whole world goes down, but the US is not in a good place. Um, I think that you're right a little bit, Swiss, as far as the whole world going down because of the separation. But all of those that continue to tie themselves to the dollar, which is Europe and other countries that still want to tie themselves to the dollar, well, those people are going to be the ones that collapse with us. But yeah, it's um, the way that BRICS is coming in to kind of take over. I think it's going to make it nicer for the rest of the globe. It at least gives them a debt reset, but or a jubilee. But that's about the rest of us. Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah, you're right. We're it's going to be bad. So living in Illinois, the taxes are way too high. I pay almost 3% of the value. Um, well, uh, Jason, I taxes are taxes. Those are things you can't get away. You want a functional government, you want highways, you want police, you want a rule of law, you want safety, you want security, you want convenience. Well, that comes at a cost, and that is a portion of your profit that gets taken from you by the federal government to make sure that you have access to all the things that you need to function. So if you complain about it, then you should never use it, not one bit. Okay. Sasquatch. Okay, bring out the band hammer and hammer hard. Yeah. Free Palestine. Yeah. Okay. Property taxes. Friar Tuck. Finally, a real hobbit. What's up, Larry? All right. Uh. Everybody's focused on my forehead today. That's the most bricks and more like browns. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could say it. Mythology of Friar Tuck has nothing to do with Middle Earth. That is true. What's up, Marcus? I ain't seen you in a while. Holy moly, the guy with Walking Dead went downhill. Oh, I go to state like Arizona or Missouri, lower property taxes. Yeah, I pay like $12 a year for property taxes for mine, but it's also undeveloped land. And you know what? An acre really isn't that small. Because you gotta realize, like in cities, you're getting quarter and half acre lots at most. Even in the denser we get, I think it's like eighth of acres is what they were doing starting in the 90s. So you really when you think of an acre, if you know how to be spatially oriented, you could do a lot with an acre. It's better to have at least 4 or 5 acres, but 1 acre, 2 or 3 people can live on that quite comfortably. So, right, if the U.S. Loses, we all do. I just hope because our social system, it will be less hard. That's the thing, is Swiss. There is funding cuts that are happening across the board. There are like I think there's several states. Oh, I think Indiana brought back their shuttle service for cold winter temporarily, because of this winter storm that we got coming through. But you have a lot of states that are starting to cut funding for homeless programs for the shelters, and they're citing budgetary constraints. So, to say that our social systems will be there, no, no, they will not. Um, uh, at least, eh, oh, but anyways, um, just when it comes to social services, I think that those because what we're seeing. So we were warned in like 2008, 2009 by people like Peter Schiff that says if we didn't let the banks fail, it's going to be 10 times worse when it finally comes and explodes. Well, it's now 10 times worse because it's finally coming to explode. One, two. It was warned. What was the other thing that he said? It was it'd be 10 times worse. I forget the other thing, but uh, uh, we've kicked the can down the road. We let them go down it, and that's kind of how we got where we are. So Aiden Byer, what's up, Aiden? So by the way, in Switzerland we have point 0.2 in place right now, and the Swiss franc has never been stronger. It's hurting our export, but for consumers, it's great. Um, Switzerland, really? I hear you guys are about to ready to lose your neutrality status. A guy that I follow out of Switzerland, his name's Billy Meyer. That's one of the things I hear him talk about is how Switzerland has finally gotten rid of its neutrality and has joined the EU. So, yeah, you guys might have 0.2% inflation right now, but uh, um, you guys might have tied yourself to hitched yourself to the wrong wagon, as far as that. So, but anyways, yeah, that's ridiculous. What do you mean, Gain? How is that ridiculous? Swiss is neutral. Well, no, they are actually. Um, they've been talking about giving up their neutrality, and they've been doing some things that take away their neutrality, especially with the Ukraine thing, in sending aid. So yeah, no, Switzerland is if they haven't done it officially, they're in the process of doing it at least. So I keep reading from the guy that I read, but I'm not 100% well versed in it. I'm just a spectator who's just consuming information. So. Since Canada treats other regions way better than us because we follow more French culture and a lot more inflation, I think, has increased by 10%. Well, um, well, yeah, you guys are wanting to split. My old man keeps thinking you guys want to come and join the United States. I don't think that's going to happen, but I hear you guys are in the process of possibly splitting up. Is there truth to that, or is this just saber rattling like we do every once in a while when the states threaten to secede, or is this actually something that's really going on? So we would vote about it, and the result would be clear. We're not talking about it. Okay. So not true. Swiss wouldn't do that. Okay. I love lamp. Okay. Nice fur. We're helping, but not with weapons. Yeah. Well, that in itself takes away from your neutrality status because you can't have a dog in the fight one way or another. In so many ways, you have to be willing to finance both sides or no sides. So what happened to the USS Liberty? I don't know. We're not joining the EU. Okay. Um, You don't need me to talk to Rebecca Hammerhead. Huh. Okay, Atlas shrugged. Huh. But okay, guys. So I'm. It looks like we've had a very active chat tonight. So I want to ask you guys something. Type one if you like it. Type two if you don't. I'm gonna take a poll with those that of you guys that are here. Um, so if you've been following my channel for any period of time, you know that I spent a couple of years homeless. I've been chronically homeless for about 25 years. For a couple of years, I talked about the homeless issue. Once I got off the streets and I kind of got myself into more stable position, I kind of strayed away from that and tried some other things. I'm going back to my roots because in sales, one of the things they always tell you is that when you sometimes you overcomplicate it, just go back to the basics. So, as a traveler, as a nomad like myself, one of the things that I think would be valuable to the homeless community is to do some sort of news segment that talks about not just the policies, but things that are happening all around the country. Because sometimes as homeless, we all relocate. I mean, I've met a guy that in Alabama, the day labor was kind of going south. He heard that there was a lot of work in Florida, so he hopped a Greyhound bus to Florida, and so to do day labor there. So yes, you're gonna end up moving around, and it would be more of something geared towards helping the homeless community that is kind of seasoned in traveling, help them be able to navigate on a new segment that's geared towards them and their lifestyle versus geared towards the housed lifestyle. So so that's what I'm curious about. So if you think that that would be a good thing for me to do, if you would get behind it, give me a one. If you don't, give me a two. Okay. And if it doesn't bother you either way, you can just do three. Okay. What's up, Invisible Man? Switzerland would be nice for peppers, bunkers, is almost every house. Yes. All right, we got some ones. We got three of them there. So it looks like we got good. All right. Seems like we've got some people that are on board on it. So I've actually got some stuff. So I'm going to release it. Like I don't know if I want to release what day of the week I want to release it at. Anybody have like a preferred day, or do they even care? I'm just curious because like I could release it on Mondays, I could release it on Fridays or Saturdays or whatever, because it's just I'm gonna do a once a week overview to kind of cover everything that's going on. When it gets to a point where homelessness is really becoming a huge topic, I might start doing more frequent updates. But I think right now, once a week would be fine. It's not Tuesday and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays best. Okay. Um, you know what? That is true. Tuesdays and Thursdays are generally the day because Tuesdays people are finally getting over the Monday blues, and then they start turning on social media. And Thursdays is kind of like when they start trying to plan their weekend, and so they start looking at social media that way. You look like an NPC that gives a quest about collecting motor oil. Hey, at least you guys are creative tonight. Most y'all aren't. I mean, yeah, and at least you're not being repetitive. So we love our trolls as long as you're entertaining. So beat me, maim me, do whatever you want. Just don't bore me. All right. So with that being said, it seems like we kind of have a general consensus. So I'm going to start doing that on a regular basis. Um, I'll just tell you, I'm working on three stories. I've got one that's in production. So I'm going to be doing the bum news segment as far as like the weekly segment where I give updates and stuff like that. But I'm also going to start doing more in-depth reporting on bigger things that are happening because right now, so Donald Trump is trying to cut aid to the homeless programs through Housing First. He just was, I guess, a court just ruled either today or on Friday stating that he was not able to to take those funds away that they were already allocated. And da 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 da. So he wasn't. The court has blocked him at this point. I didn't get a chance to read whether it was the Supreme Court that said this or if this was a lower court, but this is kind of where it stands. But this is directly affecting housing first. So I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into it and give you guys a more of a nuts and bolts of how this is going to affect you within the homeless community, especially considering housing first is a benefit that will help that will help most people. Okay. We're also going to be talking about universal basic income and artificial intelligence, and kind of how those two are going to play together, with the artificial intelligence becoming so mainstream that it's being very disruptive in the job market, which may lead us again to universal basic income. Okay. And then also, we're going to be talking about the hidden homeless. Those are 3 articles that I'm working on. The housing first is one that I am in the middle of producing. So I haven't gotten it out, but I will start releasing so next Tuesday is probably every Tuesday I will release a video for Bum News, my weekly segment. Plus, if I do any investigative or deeper dive into certain articles. So those are going to be the 2 things, and then I'm going to do my live streams just because you guys are all my friends, and you guys have been with me for years, some of you, and I like hanging out with you. And this is our community square where we hang out. So, um, I think maybe you broke the record with the Triple H references today. I only got like 2 or 3. Usually we would get like 20 or 30 at one point in time, DFH. You look like you can't do good yo-yo tricks. Probably not. Um, okay. So anyways, those are some articles that I've got coming down. That's what I'm getting ready to work on. And those articles will be up and ready to go soon. So anyways, I will see you guys. If I don't see you before New Year's, I will definitely see you guys after New Year's. And I hope that you guys have a very fun New Year's if I don't see you before then. Thanks for being here, guys, and I will see you next time.